Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to our ISEP Health and Safety and Emergency Pre-Departure webinar. Thank you for coming. My name is Rachel. I work as the Student Services Officer for our programs that are in Asia, and I work with the Enrollment Management Team, and I'm also a member of the Health and Safety Task Force. And I will hand off to my colleague, Liz, who I'm joined with today, so she can introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Lopez, and I'm ISEP's Program Assistant here. And I'm also a member of ISEP's Health and Safety Emergency Task Force.
Thank you, Liz. So yes, we will get it started today. Just to note, we do encourage watching through this presentation very carefully and thoroughly through the end. And then you can also come back to this presentation at any point should you have questions while you are abroad. So for today's agenda, we are going to be talking about preparing for a safe experience while you're abroad. This will include things to know during your pre-departure phase that you're in right now, and then what to do upon arrival once you get to your host site. And then also COVID-19 considerations. We'll talk about ISEP protocols and policies and what we do when there is a situation that arises and how we help you. And then emergencies abroad, what to do in an emergency situation, and then what is expected of you as an ISEP student during these situations. And then at the end, we also have some health and safety resources that you can save on your own and go back to at any point during your study abroad program. So for now, I'm going to hand it off to my colleague Liz, and she will start with our first section for today.
Yes. So our first session or section here is the pre-departure information. It is very important for you to carefully review your ISEP dashboard. Your ISEP dashboard includes your acceptance package, your pre-departure information, and your health and safety information. Also, it is a requirement for you to be enrolled in insurance before your ISEP study abroad program. You will be able to enroll in ISEP's health and safety program in your ISEP dashboard, where you'll be seeing the CISI insurance that is required for your program and access assistance. You'll be able to download your MYCISI mobile app to your phone once you have enrolled in your ISEP dashboard. You will also be receiving a welcome email, including all your CISI insurance documents that you will need before going to your study abroad program. And so we also really advise you to make copies of these original documents. So this includes your passport, visa, identification, insurance card that will also be provided in the welcome email once you enroll in the CISI insurance. So when in doubt, we strongly advise you to print a copy and keep it with you on your carry-on when you're traveling, as well as upload scans of important documents to your Google Drive or any other online storage system. We also highly encourage you to enroll in the Smart Travel Enrollment Program, also known as STEP, or your home country's equivalent alert system for travelers abroad. And then next, tips that we have for staying healthy while abroad. If you have any prescriptions that you take, we highly recommend that you first see that that prescription is allowed in your host sites. In the case that it is not, we highly recommend that you speak with your physician to see if there are any alterations that you may need. In the case that it is accepted, the prescriptions and medications that you take already, we highly recommend that you order enough for the entirety of your program. And so the entirety of your program, make sure that it's allowed. If it is not, again, talk with your physician to see if there any alterations can be made. And we also do not want you to just change or stop taking that medication. So it is important for you to speak with your physician to see if any alterations can be made of your prescribed medication. Unless directed by your physician, make sure that you schedule, unless directed by a physician that says that it's not possible, or we see any other recommendations that they may have. And so we also want you to make sure that you schedule any required immunizations prior to departure, if applicable. Also schedule any routine appointments before you go abroad. This includes dentists, regular doctor checkups, and the eye doctor, etc. If you see a mental health therapist, ask about the possibility of continuing your sessions virtually or explore options for continuing care while abroad. Beyond the suggested physical and mental health care resources in the health and safety section of your ISEP dashboard, you can also contact AXA Assistance to receive a list of recommended providers in your host city that you'll be studying abroad. And then What to do upon arrival, we have some information regarding on that. When you arrive at your host university, you'll want to register with your home country's embassy in your host country to make sure you also fill out your local emergency contact information in your ISEP dashboard and add any emergency contacts to your phone and keep a paper copy. And these emergency contacts include your host coordinator's contact information, ISEP's 24-hour emergency line that is included here and in red for a reason. So please make sure to write that down on a piece of paper, as well as your host country's emergency services numbers and your address and telephone number abroad. This telephone number abroad has to be a number that will be able to contact you in your host country. So though it works at your home country, if you see that it does not work at the host country, we highly want you to change that number for us to be able to contact you in the case of an emergency. Next, we have, so when we say to provide your local information, this is what you'll see in your ISEP dashboard. You'll be able to update your contact info once you go to your host country. In the section while abroad in your ISEP dashboard, you'll see provide your contact information. Here is where you'll be able to add your address and that local number that we want you to provide for us to be able to contact you in a case of emergency or just in general at your host country. Is very important for us to be able to communicate with you while you're studying abroad. And next, I will hand it off to my lovely colleague, Rachel Brown.
Thank you, Liz. So yes, for this next section, we're going to go over protocols and policies here at ISEP that we have so that we can be able to support you if a situation does arise during your program. So first, we'll go over some student responsibilities for all ISEP students. So please remember that your decisions have a big impact on your own health and safety while abroad. So of course, please use common sense, and when in doubt, play it safe. It is best to trust your gut and not put yourself in a risky situation just so you don't put yourself in a scenario where you need medical assistance or you're in an emergency situation, etc. So for student code of conduct, please review your student code of conduct in your ISEP acceptance package in detail. You are responsible for abiding by these and the rules and regulations at your home and host universities. You're binded by this by accepting your ISEP program. Please be aware that laws in your host country may be different from your home country, so please do not assume that they are all the same. So please make sure that you abide by all of these laws while you are at your host institution and while you're on program. And then please note that failure to complete medical assessment or disclose information has caused health and safety problems while abroad. So we highly encourage that you complete your ISEP medical form to with as much detail as possible and you feel comfortable for providing. And then also providing your contact information as mentioned before thoroughly. And then also make sure that you check your medical requirements section of your ISEP acceptance package so you understand what may be required for you by your host institution while you are on program with them. Next, for insurance and healthcare abroad, all ISEP students are required to enroll in the ISEP Health and Safety Program. This health and safety program includes enrollment in insurance with Cultural Insurance Services International. We'll call it CISI moving forward. This is our general health insurance policy. And then there's also AXA assistance that provides travel assistance, evacuation, and repatriation insurance specifically. And so in terms of accessing healthcare while you are abroad, ISEP's Health and Safety Program covers students outside of their home country within the dates of enrollment listed on your ID card. So please note that you will not receive ISEP Health and Safety Program benefits in your home country. And then if you need to change your enrollment dates at any point, you should contact CISI through your portal. Normally, if you have a non-emergency medical problem, you will first visit the University Health Center or a local clinic. And so that information for the closest medical services to you will be in your ISEP Health and Safety tab of your ISEP dashboard. So please review that information. For medical emergencies after hours, it is generally recommended that you visit a local hospital just because some clinics may only have certain hours where they are open, whereas a local hospital usually has longer hours, if not 24/7. So definitely visit that if you need assistance after hours or sometime late. For more information about local healthcare resources and services, they can be found in your health and safety section of your ISEP dashboard, as mentioned before, and it will be covered during your on-site orientation. So it's very important that you listen carefully during this part of the orientation and then receive and review the information that you receive during that orientation about this. And then we encourage utilizing medical providers that are recommended by your host university. However, if you so choose to, you may also navigate the CISI provider search in your MYCISI portal to locate other providers in your area. Or this is a good idea if you are traveling outside of your host city to utilize this provider search so you can find assistance if something were to happen. Outside of the US, typically you will be required to pay for your medical expenses out of pocket and then submit a claim to request reimbursement for the expenses that you paid for your treatment. So if that situation happens, a blank claim form is included in your CISI welcome email that you received after you enrolled, and more information about treatment and claims can be found on the ISEP website and the MyCIS portal. That information there will tell you who you need to contact to submit that claim. Students studying in the US should follow the instructions on their CISI policy brochure to check and search for in-network healthcare providers that are nearby your host institution. And then students studying outside the US who receive treatment at CISI recommended providers, please note that you may still incur out-of-pocket fees. So you may still be asked at the counter after your treatment to pay fees. And it is very uncommon for healthcare facilities abroad to accept international insurance upfront. So please be aware if you are from the US that is likely very different than what you are used to, and please be prepared for that. AXA assistants can arrange direct payment between CISI and the medical provider for any large outpatient and inpatient expenses that you receive. And so if you need any sort of assistance with payment arrangements, please make sure to contact AXA assistants as soon as possible so they can help set up what is called a guarantee of payment. And so if you want to review any of this information, again, there is a section on our ISEP website specifically for insurance that you can go to, and it will have all the contact information for who you need to reach out to in any of these different scenarios. Next, related to COVID-19. So in terms of changes to COVID or as different regulations kind of change over time, it is important to follow the most up-to-date and important COVID-19 related entry requirements for your host country. So this could include proof of vaccination and then health forms to be completed prior to arrival. So it's important to make sure that you're monitoring that so you don't forget to do something before you board the plane, because you could be denied entry into your host country if you do not provide something that they need. There may be additional requirements too from your host university or housing provider. So even if there is a specific regulation at one country, if your host university for any reason requires you to do a specific procedure, you must follow that. And then you should also check your ISEP special conditions in your acceptance package under the contract tab. And from there, you'll find a link where you can find the current information for your host country. So we recommend saving that link and referring to that link before you go abroad, and check it regularly so you are prepared right up until the day that you are flying out for your program. As mentioned before, policies are ever changing, so it is also very important to stay updated on any local or national regulations. Make sure that you're monitoring that, and then also make sure that you're paying attention when you are abroad as well, if anything happens. And then please know that restrictions may continue to look different in your host country from your home country. So again, as mentioned before, please do not assume that it is the same as what you are used to. It is your responsibility to research that information and to abide by any procedures that are laid out for you as a foreigner visiting that country. And so if you have any questions, we encourage using the CISI Health Insurance FAQ. There's a lot of answers for general questions that they often receive. So please look through that and see if you have your answer from there. And if you have any questions still, please feel free to reach out to your ISEP Student Services Officer or CISI directly. Next, we'll go over health and safety abroad. And so in terms of personal safety abroad, we just want to remind you of some of these tips. We hope that a lot of this is already some common sense to stay safe, but just to go over this again, Please pay attention to security warnings. If you hear information from, for example, the news or somewhere online about something, or you hear directly from your local authorities, your host institution, please adhere to those warnings. Please blend in and follow local social norms. Again, obviously, when you go abroad, you will experience a different culture that may be what you are used to, but you should follow any social norms so you can be able to interact easy with others, and then you feel easier to navigate to where you are and when you are abroad. So please try and blend in as much as possible. And then practice safe and responsible use of alcohol if you so choose to drink. And please make sure if you are of the legal age and you choose to drink, just please be sure to monitor yourself, be safe, because we do not want anything to happen to you because of that decision. Be aware of your surroundings. If you find yourself in somewhere where you do not feel completely comfortable, it is best to remove yourself from there and to go back to somewhere where you do feel comfortable. Should that be, for example, your housing, on campus, etc. But it's best to travel in pairs or small groups rather than alone if you are going to new places, especially at night. So learn from your host coordinator for the best and safest way to travel at night. This is something they may go over or during orientation, but if they do not go over that, it's definitely a good idea to ask them before you go anywhere new. And then avoid unsafe neighborhoods, as mentioned before, and then also do not attend protests or rallies or strikes, etc., and put yourself in very, very risky situations. Mind your pockets, use travel wallets and safes. It is a good idea to have that just so you can keep your valuables safe. And if you sense a potentially dangerous situation, please remove yourself. As just a general rule. It is best to trust your gut and just put yourself somewhere where you do know that you're going to be okay. And so you can always look to your ISEP host coordinators and local students for more information about safety around your host university and while traveling. And then again, a lot of this information may be reviewed during on-site orientation. So make sure you attend that, make sure you listen to the presentation well, and then you should also just make sure that you have the resources from that orientation afterwards. Additionally, so for mental health abroad, regardless of whether you have a pre-existing mental health condition, you may also struggle with mental wellness while you're abroad, because as you can see, there are many contributing factors to this and many things that are happening when you go abroad. You're in a new place, and so you are adjusting to an unfamiliar culture, and this results to what you may have heard called culture shock. And so your change in an academic environment will happen, changes in routine will happen, and then new or lack of support systems while you're abroad. All of these can happen while you're abroad, and that can lead to increased loneliness, homesickness, anxiety, and depression. However, so you can avoid the situations where you have a severe mental health experience or your mental health deteriorates. We would consider or ask you to consider how you will manage your mental health abroad before you go, even if you do not have a pre-existing mental health condition. So you should be anticipating your needs and making plans for supporting those needs. This is one of the best ways to prevent any sort of situation to happen while you're abroad. And then if you are currently receiving therapy or clinical support, it may be helpful to develop a mental health travel plan with your provider. So you can talk with them, talk about what services that you currently receive and what you may be able to get abroad. See if you can do some virtual sessions, as my colleague mentioned before. Look into that thoroughly before you go abroad so you can be able to be properly prepared. And if you experience significant difficulties while abroad, please know and utilize your resources. There are many people around you who are here to support you in a situation, so please do not feel that you have to navigate anything alone. You have ISEP, and you have your ISEP Student Services Officer who can directly help you. There's also your host university coordinator, so someone on campus on site. They're usually the best contact if you need any sort of immediate assistance. There's resources at your host university, and then there are resources in your host country and city. For example, there may be some counseling services that are actually geared toward foreigners as well, so please make sure to look into that. And then just to note, AXA Assistance does have 24/7 remote behavioral health assistance. This is usually utilized during very acute, minor, or very acute mental health situations abroad. So you can also utilize that as well if you feel that you are at risk for your own safety. If you are in a situation where you think a friend is having a mental health issue, we would suggest that your friend speak with their local counseling services and their SSO and or the host coordinator. And so if you report that to us at ISEP, we will follow our general health and safety protocols to support that student directly. And then immediately contact your host coordinator, ISEP, and or local emergency services if you are concerned that your friend is at risk of harming themselves or others. And you can also utilize the ISEP emergency line to call if you believe that is something that needs to be escalated immediately to somebody. For sexual harassment and assault, so these are some steps that you can do to minimize your risk while abroad. So please educate yourself about local cultural norms and establish your own comfort levels. So the local perception of consent may be different to what you are used to at your home country. So please make sure you understand that, understand what's accepted, what is not accepted at your host country to avoid any uncomfortable or situations or any serious situations with who you might meet. And practice situational awareness, as mentioned before. So trust your intuition and gut and remove yourself from unsafe or uncomfortable situations. Travel in groups and use the buddy system when you go somewhere. And then also try to practice bystander intervention if you do see a situation start to unfold. You can practice some of these 3 steps. You can either be direct, so this is directly intervening in a moment to prevent a situation from happening. So you're going up to someone or an individual and asking directly if they can help you determine if action needs to be taken to ensure a safe environment. And then there's also distracting. You can interrupt a situation without directly confronting the offender and come up with a situation or something so that you can remove the parties from the situation and de-escalate. And then there's also delegate. And so that's seeking help from another individual and often someone who is actually authorized to represent others, such as a police officer or campus official. So you may choose to do that as well. And so just also know your resources. Your host university will likely have information on what you should do if something happens while you're on campus and where you should report it to. And they will also give you information on what those next steps should be if you report a situation like that. So make sure that you're aware of where you need to go. Again, this might be covered during orientation, but if you need that information, please contact your host ISEP coordinator. And so now we'll talk about what is expected of you if a situation does happen and what you should do and how you should report it. And so first, you should just be aware of local hazards and understand what might happen at your host country and specifically in your area. These are a couple of common situations that may happen, but of course it differs depending on where you are going. So that can include some natural disasters. It may include some physical hazards, environmental hazards, and then also social hazards as well. So just understand what you can expect that may happen or can happen over time, etc., while you are at your host country. So take responsibility for your own personal safety while abroad. And in an emergency, please follow official instructions of local authorities and your host university directly. So if they give you instructions to do something, please make sure that you are promptly following those instructions to ensure that you are safe. And also, just as a good tip, it's good to continue consistent communication with your friends and family. So you may be having a great time abroad, but it's good to make sure that you are telling them how you're doing. And then, of course, in a scenario or a situation where you can potentially be unsafe, it's important to let your friends and family know that you are okay. Additionally, you should reply to all ISEP communications as well during a large-scale event. And so you will likely get information from your ISEP Student Services Officer to check in. If you get an email, we kindly ask that you respond to it as soon as possible once you see it. Also, for your host and home coordinators, it's likely they will reach out to you as well in some form. So please make sure to take your time out of your day and the situation to be able to let everybody know that you're okay if you are okay. And then check in via MyCISI portal and mobile app. There's actually a way in the MyCISI portal to check in. If a large scale event happens, ISEP will be sending alerts to students through that app. So you should utilize the feature to let us know that you are okay. If you have an account, you've downloaded the app, or you can access your portal at that moment. And then just to note our ISEP communications plan, we do relay information between students, the home university, and the host institution. So this is why we emphasize that you let us know as soon as possible, because likely there are many people looped into the situation, and we want to be able to let them know and give them peace of mind if you are okay. And we want to report that as soon as possible. So this is why we emphasize this for all ISEP students. And now I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Liz, who's going to talk about what to do in an emergency situation.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. So we highly recommend if an emergency situation for you to follow the local media and law enforcement instructions, especially in large-scale events. If necessary, you should seek immediate medical attention from local emergency services. And please remember that you have the number for local emergency services in your ISEP dashboard as well, and you should keep that in mind in case of an emergency. If you are in an emergency situation as well, here are the first points of contact during that particular emergency. One, you should contact the in-country or host country police and emergency responders. They will be the best people to assist you in a true emergency. You should then contact your host coordinator who is on the ground in your location regarding a large-scale event. And so if there is first, the first, responders if you need it. Second, your ISEP host coordinator. In the event that there is a large-scale event, again, as Rachel has said, you should use the check-in feature in MyCISI for these large-scale events. It could be a natural disaster, etc. So it's very important for you to use that check-in feature in your MyCISI mobile app, okay? And so then lastly, please use the ISEP emergency line. Again, this is provided here. It is very crucial for you to use that in the case that you need it, and it is there 24/7 in the case of emergency situation. Next, for you to see more visually of how this CISI mobile app is going to look like, here's another photo for you to see. Again, remember that this will be sent out to all students in their MyCISI portal in the case that there is a large scale event of emergency, and we use this to check in to make sure that you are safe. So again, if there is a natural disaster, terrorist attack, or other security related incident, please use the check-in from within the MyCISI portal so that the program and CISI knows that you are safe. Please note that you do not use the check-in if nothing has occurred. This is in the case of an emergency. You only want to check in to notify the program and CISI that you are safe and that you're safe if there is a natural disaster, again, terrorist attack, any other related security incidents that puts you or is an emergency or has put potentially others in danger. We just want to make sure that there is a check-in, that you check in and make sure that you are safe during your study abroad program. Next, I want to go over some helpful resources in terms of ISEP's health and safety resources. All of them are provided here and are linked here at this slide and provide information regarding like personal safety abroad. And we also encourage you to review your country handbook before going abroad in terms of like any relevant and vital information for you to know before you go to your host country, as well as we also provide links to bias incident reporting, as well as the diversity at isep.org for you to submit this potential bias incident reporting if you experience that during your host country. Again, these are helpful resources in terms of trying to build that communication while you are abroad. And then lastly, in your ISEP dashboard, you will fill out the self-assessment medical form for you to complete in your ISEP acceptance package. And then you can find resources of Get Ready to Go tabs in your ISEP dashboard and your health and safety information tab as well. Again, ISEP dashboard is a very key component in your study abroad experience here at ISEP with all the information or relevant information in your local host country. as well as these links that I'm providing here as well that could also provide you more information regarding our health insurance, the health insurance provider that we with ISEP, that is CISI. So please, if you have any questions regarding benefits or more information about your brochure, you have the welcome email, but we also have links to the CISI student health insurance information, and that will lead you to your MyCISI portal as well, or give you information how to go there. And so those are just very key vitals links that we want to provide you in the contacts. And next, we also have other useful links for information that includes travel advisories from your home country's government and the website for your home country's embassy abroad. Also, the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, U.S. Embassy COVID-19 pages, the World Health Organization, WHO, and also the official tourism site for your host country. So all of these are very vital and there on the ISEP website for you to look into and click on these useful links before going abroad. And if you have any questions, again, please contact your student services officer. That is a reminder. Yes, you could always contact your student services officer, and remember the ISEP's emergency line. So if you have any questions, those are like the two sources mainly. Remember our other slide in terms of the contact in case of emergency, but our student services officers like Rachel Brown are always here for you if you are in her region, to be fair. So it depends on your region. If you're in, she mentioned the region she advises in the beginning. There are other student services officers that will be here in ISEP, and depending on your region, you'll be assigned to them. Okay. And do you have anything for the group, Rachel?
No, that's everything. So thank you so much, Liz. And yes, we are wishing you a safe and exciting time while you're abroad. Of course, as mentioned before, please reach out if you have any questions and utilize this presentation as your resource while you're abroad. Otherwise, safe travels. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.